Boxing fans, strap in, because this isn't just another gimmick. This is war. On one side, you've got Jake Paul, fresh off knocking out legends, chasing legacy, and calling out Canelo with the swagger of a Hollywood villain. On the other, Julio César Chávez Jr., the fallen prince of Mexican boxing royalty, a former world champion with greatness in his blood and chaos in his wake. This isn't a money grab, it's a litmus test. Can Jake Paul finally silence the doubters by beating a real fighter with a name etched in boxing history? Or will Chavez Jr. remind the world that no YouTuber walks into the ring with a Chavez and walks out the same? You think you've seen circus fights? This one might just turn into a funeral for hype. The stakes are career-defining, reputations are on the line, and egos are about to get punched in the mouth. This fight is bigger than internet fame or family legacy. This is the crossroads where spectacle meets real blood. Don't blink, don't scroll, because what happens next could shake the boxing world to its core. The date is locked, June 29th, 2025, and the fight world is bracing for impact. Jake Paul vs. Julio César Chávez Jr. is official, and this time the stakes aren't just clicks and clout. This one's got teeth. Streaming live on DAZN pay-per-view, this is the moment Jake Paul claims he's been building toward. Not another ex-UFC fighter, not another retired legend. This is a real boxer, a real threat, and a real name. Jake isn't just chasing a win. He's chasing credibility. He's gunning for a cruiserweight ranking, eyeing title shots, and daring to put his name alongside warriors like Badou Jack, and even whispering it in the direction of Canelo Alvarez. This fight isn't a detour. It's a straight path into boxing's elite conversation. If he wins, the narrative changes forever. If he loses, the empire starts to crack. But Chavez Jr. isn't here to play gatekeeper. He's here for redemption. His legacy has been dragged through the mud. Suspensions, drug tests, lazy performances, and the ghost of a legendary father looming over every move he makes. This isn't just a paycheck for Chavez. It's a shot to reclaim his respect, to shut up every headline that ever called him wasted potential. This fight, it's not a gimmick, it's a crossroad. For Jake Paul, it's validation. For Julio César Chávez Jr., it's survival. And for boxing fans, it's a car crash you have to watch, because no matter who wins, this collision is going to leave wreckage. Who is Jake Paul? He's the internet's loudest villain turned boxing's most disruptive wild card. And whether you love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. From teenage Vine star to YouTube mogul, Jake Paul built his empire on controversy, chaos, and charisma. But when he laced up the gloves in 2020, no one thought it was serious. They laughed, they scoffed, they said it was just another influencer stunt. But Jake didn't just box, he won. He didn't stop at internet beefs. He started stacking names. Anderson Gibb, Nate Robinson, Ben Askren. Then the stakes got higher. He outboxed Tyron Woodley twice. He beat Anderson Silva, a UFC legend with real striking credentials. He went the distance and got his hand raised against Mike Tyson. No headgear, no excuses, no exhibition. His record now? 11 wins, 1 loss, 7 knockouts. That loss, it came by split decision to Tommy Fury, an actual boxer. But here's the kicker. Jake didn't fold. He came back sharper, hungrier, and meaner. He's not a sideshow anymore. He's a legit fighter, training like a professional, sparring with killers, and living in the gym. But Jake Paul's journey to legitimacy isn't just paved with punches. It's soaked in controversy. He's been sued for $100 million, 0 cents by promoter Eddie Hearn after accusing him of bribery. He's been linked to crypto scams, SEC investigations, and allegations of misconduct. He's clashed with Dana White, Floyd Mayweather, and half of the combat sports world. But that's the playbook. Jake thrives in chaos. He's not just selling fights, he's controlling the narrative, forcing boxing's old guard to deal with him whether they want to or not. And here's the thing most fans don't want to admit. He's improving. The footwork, cleaner. The jab, sharper. The conditioning, relentless. He's not perfect, but he's dangerous. Not just because of what he does in the ring, but because of what he brings outside of it. Eyeballs, money, disruption. Jake Paul didn't come into boxing through the amateurs, through the ranks, through the system. He hijacked the spotlight. And now, he's dragging the whole damn sport with him. Who is Julio César Chávez Jr.? He's the son of a god in Mexican boxing, the heir to a name that's etched into the soul of the sport. But with that name came a weight few could carry. And Chavez Jr. has been fighting ghosts ever since he threw his first punch. At his peak, Chavez Jr. was more than a last name. He was a world champion. In 2011, he captured the WBC middleweight title, going undefeated through 47 fights and defending the belt with the kind of pressure and bodywork that echoed his father's greatness. At 6'1", with a granite chin and a relentless motor, he looked like the future of Mexican boxing. He was born into royalty, but for a moment, he earned his own crown. But that moment didn't last. From greatness to headlines for all the wrong reasons, Chavez Jr.'s career spiraled into inconsistency, scandal, and wasted talent. Let's break it down. He's tested positive for banned substances, once for a diuretic, another time for marijuana. He's missed weight. He's dodged VADA testing. He's shown up out of shape. He's pulled out of fights. And worst of all, for fight fans, he's coasted through performances that screamed no heart, no hunger, and no respect for the sport. In 2012, he lost his title to Sergio Martinez, but not before nearly pulling off a last-round miracle knockout. That night was a symbol of who Chavez Jr. really is, a fighter with just enough natural toughness to always be dangerous, and just enough self-destruction to never fulfill his potential. Then came the beatdown from Canelo Alvarez, a national grudge match where Chavez Jr. showed up lifeless, throwing less than 30 punches around, embarrassing not just himself, but the entire Chavez legacy. Even his own father said after the fight, it was a disgrace. But here's the paradox. Even now, with all the controversy, Chavez Jr. is still a threat, because under the circus, under the dust, under the mockery, there's still a real fighter. A guy who's gone 12 rounds with Danny Jacobs, a guy who has over 60 fights, 34 knockouts, and has never been stopped by anyone not named Fonfara due to injury. If you think Jake Paul can just walk through that kind of experience, you're not paying attention. This is a man who's been on the biggest stages, under the brightest lights, with the heaviest pressure imaginable. And now, with the world laughing again, he gets to silence them all in one night. But here's the burning question. Which Chavez Jr. are we getting? The focused destroyer who body shots his way to victory, or the undisciplined drifter who phones it in, cashes a check, and disappears? That's what makes this fight so unpredictable, because Chavez Jr., for all his flaws, is still a wild card, still dangerous, still unpredictable, and still desperate to remind the world that the name Chavez isn't just history, it's still a weapon. Now let's talk about what really matters, the fight itself. Jake Paul versus Julio César Chávez Jr. isn't just a clash of names or narratives, it's a collision of two completely different boxing worlds, one built on discipline and pedigree, the other on momentum, marketing, and raw power. And when these styles meet in the ring, expect fireworks. Let's break it down. Jake Paul fights from an orthodox stance. He's not flashy, but he's efficient. His whole game is built around one thing, timing the right hand. It's heavy, it's accurate, and if he lands it clean, he's shown he can drop almost anyone standing across from him. But Jake doesn't just throw bombs, he's gotten smart. Over time, his footwork has tightened, his jab has become a real weapon, and his head movement, while still raw, is a notch above your average brawler. He likes to fight at mid-range where he can control tempo, stay safe, and set traps. His cardio has improved dramatically, evident in how he carried power late into the fight against Nate Diaz and how he went the distance with Tommy Fury. But Jake still has weaknesses. He struggles when smothered. He doesn't like volume. And when you take away his space, he gets uncomfortable. Enter Julio César Chávez Jr., the pressure fighter, the body snatcher, the man who made his name walking opponents down like a tank. When he's locked in, Chávez Jr. fights like a classic Mexican warrior. High guard, constant forward motion, heavy combinations to the ribs and liver. He's not tricky, he's not fast, but when he's focused, he breaks you mentally and physically. And unlike Jake, he knows how to fight on the inside. He leans, he rips, he grinds you down. But here's the big if, again, if he's focused. Because when Chavez Jr. shows up out of shape, he becomes sluggish, sloppy, and static. The pressure fades, the punches slow, and his already suspect defense becomes a liability. Now let's look at conditioning, a critical factor. Jake Paul takes his training seriously. He's sparring with real fighters, running with the pros, eating clean, living the life. And it shows. His gas tank isn't elite, but it's reliable. Chavez Jr., he's had cardio issues for years. He fades in fights he shouldn't. He's looked gassed in round 5 of 10-round bouts. If he comes in dragging extra pounds or undertrained, Jake can drown him in activity. So how does this play out? If Jake Paul keeps the fight at range, sticks the jab, and controls the pace with his right hand cocked and ready, he can edge rounds, frustrate Chavez Jr., and maybe even drop him late if the body breaks down. He won't outclass Chavez Jr. on boxing IQ, but he might outwork him. But if Chavez Jr. decides to bite down, cut the ring, and drag Jake into a phone booth war, it gets ugly, it gets real, and it gets dangerous for Jake. Because Chavez Jr., for all his flaws, still knows how to bang to the body, still has a chin, and still has enough veteran craft to make this a nightmare up close. Let's be crystal clear, this fight is winnable for both men. Jake Paul has youth, hunger, power, and discipline. Chavez Jr. has size, grit, experience, and a chip on his shoulder the size of Sinaloa. And with 10 rounds to play with, the margins get razor thin. What we have here isn't just a style clash, it's a mental war. Jake's consistency versus Chavez's chaos. Jake's ambition versus Chavez's desperation. And that's what makes this fight a thriller. Because if one man breaks focus, loses momentum, or lets the moment overwhelm him, it's over. One mistake, One lapse, one body shot, and it's lights out. This is boxing at its most volatile. Is this the night Jake Paul proves he belongs? Or the night Chavez Jr. shuts down the circus once and for all? Don't blink. June 29 could change everything. If you're a real boxing fan, hit that like button, drop your prediction in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed, because this channel, we don't cover the noise. We break down the truth. The ring is ready. The world is watching. Now, let's see who wants it more.